Alright, hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about this vintage camper behind me. You've seen this in several videos of mine here the last few years of us taking it from scratch and building it into something we can use. Just to go over what we have here, it's a 1972 Midas Volunteer camper. I think it's a 16-foot camper, and like you see in the videos, I got it fixed up from scratch. And one of the items that is kind of a big deal for us is the ground clearance of these old campers. We have it kind of in two separate instances that this ground clearance comes into effect, and that is the travel to get to the campsite or wherever you're going, and once you're there, does it have a full hookups or not? So for that first item, for the travel to the campground, the issue we have is this low ground clearance, and we have to kind of watch when we pull off of the main road onto a side road, or to go, eat something, to go to a gas station, something like that. A lot of times that transition can be quite hilly. It's got like a big bump up into the gas station, things like that. And I have hit the back of this bumper here. I have hit this several times where you can just feel it scraping the bottom. And actually this is the second bumper I've had on it, and so you can just kind of hurts from the minute every time that I run into it. And because it's only just over 9 inches off the ground, and you can see back here is that it's quite a distance from the tires as well. And so any bump that the tire feels, it's got to be pretty level for at least 6 feet before the bumper will hit the ground. So it's just something to think about. Having a low camper, it's quite an issue, it seems like, in pulling on and off the main roads. And we live in the flat part here in coastal Georgia, so it's pretty flat. But even when we travel up to North Georgia or Tennessee, where it's a little more, the chance of you getting into something hilly is higher. We've had to watch it when we get in those areas. All right, so we're under the camper now. This is just behind the back tires. And another item that I was kind of disappointed in is I bought these jacks wanting to permanently mount them to the frame. And I was trying to think I could find a way to do it, but I just haven't yet. And the problem here is mounting it to the frame. Obviously these things stick down below even further. And so now I have about just 6 inches from the ground to the bottom of the jack. And if I put them closer to the tire, it'll probably, the chances of it hitting are less. But I don't know if it does a good job of leveling out the camper doing that and kind of making it stable, because the jacks will be just close to the middle. So what I've done now is I just attach these when I get to the campground. So putting the jack here, I'm only left with 6 inches, and I just don't think that's enough. And I'm pretty sure I'll just ram this jack into something, potentially like a speed bump or something like that. So I haven't done. So that's something to think about as well. You'll have to have these jacks separate, and just it's not a huge deal, but it's just one less, if they're permanently mounted, just one less thing to worry about and kind of store somewhere. But all right, so now that we've kind of covered the issues with driving on the road, I wanted to talk about the issues at driving or when you're arriving at the campsite and the issues there. This is our drain line for our gray water, and we have our black tank, and the drain line is up underneath the camper here. Originally, well, I guess I want to back up. I don't have any gray water tanks or freshwater tanks on this camper, just a black tank. And originally the gray water just comes down, there's no tank at all, and it used to come and kind of join with the black tank in this T intersection, this T joint, and at the bottom of that T joint was the connector to where you connect your drain line. And because all that happened underneath the camper, and the camper's already low to the ground, that connection was really low to the ground. I think it was only like 4 or 5 inches off of the ground, and it made it kind of hard to get that drain line up under there to attach. But also we ended up hitting it pretty hard one day driving, and it really cracked the plumbing and also cracked the black tank, and I had to replace that, and you saw that in one of the previous videos. So my solution to that was to split it, as to have the gray water tank come out on its own, or the gray water lines to come out on its own, and the black tank is still kind of in the same place, but it's just right at the bottom of the camper. There's just it's pretty flush with the camper. And then what I end up doing is just using the drain lines to make a Y. And let me go get those and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so this was my solution to the splitting the lines up, was just using these drains here to connect them, at the site itself. So the connection is made outside of the camper. And so one of these, plugs into this gray line and the other one onto the black tank here. And then they come into one drain to go to the sewer line, or at the site. So that way I'm able to not make the connection under the camper, and that ends up lowering the utilities. It's just getting them up high as they can. And so even with that though, I'm pretty low to the ground. I'm 6 inches off of the ground, and it's pretty I still think about it when I'm driving and if I'm going to hit this, but I haven't yet, so that's been pretty good. One of the issues that comes about is that even when you make these connections, it's a little bit of a elevation difference between this and the connection with the drain line at the site. But if there's some hilly side or something like that, there's not much fall here. There's only 6 inches to work with. Even with the jacks that kind of raise it a little bit, there's not a lot there. The other issue is there's some sites we go to that don't have a septic line, and so we have to use this tank, and you can see it's already taller than the line itself. And I think this is they make different types of tanks, and this is not the smallest, but it's also, I think the smaller ones are just shorter in length and they're not like thinner, if that makes any sense. So that becomes an issue. And so so we've also worked on a way to raise it. I've tried to just use the jacks and lift it off the ground, lift the wheels off the ground that high. That had an issue with the suspension, kind of got messed up when I did that. And also using those like yellow Lego blocks looking things. That was my first attempt at trying to raise it off the ground, but because I have double axles, I needed a lot of those. I needed to space them out and like stack them a lot. And it was getting expensive, and I was just like, I'm not gonna build this Lego set while I'm at the campsite. So I ended up just going a different route, and let me go get that real quick. So my solution was a ramp. So this was a 2x6 or 2x8 ramp, sorry. And it's 3 of them stacked on them, so if you can see there, and it's got some 45s cut in the front so the tires can go up on it. And I didn't make it a solid 2x8s, 3 of them, because that would be too heavy. But also on the bottom I have these kind of blocks I'm trying to show here. And what ends up happening, because there's just a few little blocks, is they kind of dig into the ground when you go to back up on it. It kind of acts like a cleat against the ground. It just keeps it on the ground, and I'm not wanting to slide back when you're trying to back the camper on it. So this raises it. I think it ends up being about close to 6 inches off the ground just by putting these ramps under there. So this is what I use. I just put this in the bed of the truck, get there, take them out, and put them put them behind the camper and just kind of back up onto these ramps. It works out pretty well. So I want to show you that. I'm going to go ahead and back up on them, and we'll show you what it looks like with it on the ramps, and we'll take some measurements to kind of give you an idea of what we're working with. All right, so we got the camper here up on the ramps, and it raises it up off the ground quite a bit, as you can see. And the drain line here that used to be pretty close to the ground is about 12 inches off the ground, maybe a little less than 12 inches off the ground. And that's quite a lot of difference there in elevation, and we can kind of work with that now. But also when we have the jacks under here and we jack up the back to kind of level it out, that gives us 1, 2, 3 inches more of elevation gain. So that's pretty nice. It's easy to connect those the drain lines to here and to the tank underneath here with that Y connection, and just drain to the septic line at the campsite. This gives you enough fall to do that. It seems. I haven't had an issue with that. Sometimes there's an issue with this. So this is that tank. So this tank is used, and I have to, as you can see here, it's pretty close. It's actually a little higher right now, but when I get the jacks underneath, it's about even. Maybe the camper is a little bit higher than the tank. It does make a little bit of an issue, because I have to usually try to find a place this is lower on the ground a little bit than what I have here. Parking it on ramps and having the jacks raise it up it does have enough elevation difference that we're able to use this tank. It just takes a little bit of finesse in getting those drain lines to drain, you know, with some positive drainage. So another thing you can do when you have this vintage camper is you can try to just give it a lift kit, basically raise the camper, and that is when you flip the axles from being like kind of hanging inside the leaf springs to being underneath the leaf springs. And I did not do that this go around. First, I like the look of the kind of the low slung look, that vintage camper look, and also this axle issue was kind of new to me when I did it, so I didn't want to like rock the boat a little bit when I was messing with the axles, so I just put them on the way that they were kind of meant to be. But you can flip the axles underneath, and that'll give you, I think it's about 3 to 4 inches of lift, and so that gives you a little bit of peace of mind when you're driving down the road. You know, chances of you hitting something like hitting that rear bumper and things like that are lessened, and also it's, you know, a little higher at the site. So that's one way to kind of more permanently fix this. Again, I'm not, you know, I just didn't want to rock the boat there on the axle flip, and also I really do like the look of it, kind of like where the wheels kind of sit up in the camper, fender wells and stuff like that. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for sticking around. You know, I just wanted to take this time to kind of share some of the issue we had here with this low ground clearance on a vintage camper. It's been kind of a learning process. Hope this was able to inform you and something you can plan for, not something, you know, you just have to live with. There's ways to get around it. So appreciate you sticking around for this video, and I'll see you on the next